All right. So, oh my gosh. Hey, everybody. This is my very first um, live stream. I'm still learning this technology stuff. So I'm going to wait for, I guess, for some people to join and see how this goes. I have a lot on my mind that I want to share with you. A lot on my mind that I want to share with you guys that has been happening in my life. And, for the longest time, I really wasn't going to share this with anyone because it was just very hard for me. And so, I just decided that I was going to, share my testimony because everybody keeps telling me, Ray, you need to share your testimony. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I have a lot of pride. I have a lot of ego, but I have a lot of pride. I know I get that from Theta, my mother. I know I do. And it must just be just like the women in our family, just really hard to share things with people because we go through things and, as women, especially as black women, not knocking my other sisters, my fairer complected sisters, but as black women, we hold the weight of the world on our shoulders. And to the outside world, everything is going great. Everything is going, peachy keen and, you got the kids and you got the job and you got the house and you got the vehicle and you're trying to, handle everything. And it's not always so easy. So, for those of you who know me, y'all know that I have 3 kids and I love them to the moon and back. I have, my oldest son, he's 23, he's going to be 24. My daughter is in college now, she's 19 and she's away at college and I'm already emotional about that, about her being away. And then my youngest, who's still home with me, who's eating me out of house and home, he's 16 now. And, and for those of you who don't already know, I'm divorced. I've been divorced, going on 10 years now, come September. And, and I'm just doing my thing. I'm just on my grind. And you guys know me. I stay on my grind. Y'all know I do, my little different businesses, but I do them because I don't have a choice. I need to have something to supplement because, the mortgage is killing me. Everything is like life just gets to you. And now that I have a daughter in college, of course, now it's, I'm helping her out with things. And, every time I turn around, she's texting me, she's calling me, and I made both of my kids a promise. I told them, when they first went to college for their first year, I didn't want them to work. I wanted them just to get the college experience and learn to love, being away from home and getting to know themselves without having to worry about the job. So I worked extra hard. I still had the regular job, but I always found myself doing different types of businesses so that I can keep extra because I need to make sure that they're always taken care of. So, but after a while, for those, I posted on Facebook before how, I think that my ex-husband has entered the witness protection system because seriously, I can't find that joker, and it's like I checked my, I went online and I checked my child support status. He owes me like $74,000. It's like, how? Look, I got his social security number. I know his birthday. I think I might know where he lived. Why can't you guys find him? So at the end of the day, I know that I can't rely on a child support check. I can't rely on that. And so being real, I've always found myself trying to, do a little business here, a little business there. Y'all see me, I stay on my grind. People be like, girl, you stay on your grind. I'm like, I know, I have no choice. I have to stay on my grind because I have 3 kids and a dog who rely on me. And so at the end of the day, things, I do the best I can, and I wear a smile on my face. And I just try to keep things going. And I do my absolute best not to ask. Y'all know me, my friends, y'all know me. I will go without. I won't ask nobody for nothing. I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to find a way. Well, gosh, how do I begin? Last year, things got kind of crazy. I was contracting. I, always worked in, pharmaceutical, and I was contracting, and my contract ended. It ended, and I didn't have something else lined up right behind it. And before I knew it, my mortgage got behind. And it got behind so badly that the notices started coming in the mail. The foreclosure notices started coming in the mail. And I was like, I cannot believe that I'm finding myself in this situation again. Back in 2010, I had to file bankruptcy. And I filed bankruptcy because I had to save my house. And it was a last-ditch effort. Shout out to one of my girlfriends, and she know who she is, who said, Ray, you may have to file for bankruptcy to keep yourself from losing your house. So I filed for bankruptcy, but, with contract jobs, how they come and go, I could not keep paying the payment, and then they increased it. So when they increased it, it was just too much. It was too much even for me to handle. So, I did the best I could. I got underwater, I got out of the water. I got under the water, I got out of the water. And I was like, I've been in my house since April of 2013. This April, well now actually, wow, I'm on my actual 13 years in my house. And, to the day, today is April the 14th. I moved in my house April 14th of 2003. Okay, so by myself, I've been maintaining this thing, and I'm very excited about that. But I'm not here to pat myself on the back. I'm just doing what I got to do to be a mom, to keep a roof over her kids' house, over her kids' heads. So, but at the end of the day, last year, I found myself without a job again. And for those of you if you ever had unemployment, especially in the state of North Carolina, they pay you pennies. There's nothing that you can live off of, nothing. And so, I found myself, joining another business. A friend of mine came to me with that T-Biz, and I'm not knocking the T-Biz, but they came to me and say, oh, you can make some really, really great money. We got a really, really great team. And I believed that, and, and I took money to join that, and y'all saw me. I'm on my grind again. But I swear to God in heaven, for all that is holy, I got under on my mortgage again because that gap I had of being unemployed put me behind. So I'm working with my mortgage company, and I'm like, look, I'm trying to get this money together. And I was managing to pay my mortgage, with unemployment, scooping all those checks together and a little bit of money that I was making on my side biz. But then it just wasn't enough. It's like I had to start sacrificing. And then when my daughter went to school, she needed a laptop. I needed to furnish her dorm. She needed a refrigerator. She needed everything. So what do as moms? We take from one pile and we put it into another. We literally are snatching it from Peter to pay Paul. And there goes that mortgage money. But it's like, all right, it's a good thing I'm in a house, right? Because other than like a renter, if I was a renter, I'd be on the street already. I'd be on the street, homeless, seriously. I kid you not. But because I'm in a home, it takes a little bit more to get you out your house. So, I had this mortgage and I'm working with my mortgage company. And so, then I got a job again. Back in June, I was gainfully employed. And so that was good because, the money I was making on the side hustle just wasn't doing what I thought it would do. And I know y'all can relate to that. If y'all in that biz, sips tea, I'm telling you, if you're in that and your money is funny, I'm just here to give you my own testimony, and I'm not here to sway you one way or another. But this is the deal. I found myself where the notices was coming back in the mail again because I just couldn't keep everything going. And I was working with my lender. It was a time that I wasn't even answering my phone. So I was like, wow, I know they're calling and I don't have the money. But I decided to be brave, and I was working with my lender and my mortgage company. And so they was like, all right, Miss Hope, well, we can work out a repayment plan for you, but you're going to have to pay your arrears. All right, you're going to have to pay your arrears, and then we can work on you paying the attorney's fees. Well, they wanted $7,200. And I could promise you I did not have $7,200 to my name. but it was getting towards the end of the year, so I was figuring, okay, maybe I can work out a way of getting my, tax refund is starting to come. Tax season is coming soon because this is at the end of the year. And then, for those of you who saw my Facebook, I went on a cruise. I took my kids on a cruise. I was like, YOLO, you only live once, and I want my kids to have a good time. And I treated my children airfare, cruise, everything, spending money, and we went on this cruise. And of course, I was like, I'm thinking in my mind, okay, I'm gonna use this check for this, and this check to do this, and hold on to this check because this got to add for my mortgage, right? So I was like, so I'm doing what I got to do. But they was like, all right, Miss Hope, you have to pay the $7,300. So from the money that I was trying to save and the money that I was expecting to get back from my tax refund, the bottom fell out because for whatever reason, the IRS was just dragging their heels and the money didn't come quick enough. So what did they do? My mortgage company was like, well, we're going to have to get permission to see if we can get you an extension, but we're going to have to add another payment to that. So I'm like, okay, so what's my payment going to be? Now, this is a payment that I was going to have to make in January. They needed me to make a payment of $8,300. So it went from 72 to 83. And I'm like, where am I going to get $8,300 from? So when I finally, got my taxes and saw how much I was going to get back, it was only in the amount of about $3,600. So I was short $5,000. Where was I going to get $5,000? So I'm like, all right, so still waiting for IRS to drop the money in my bank account so I can go ahead and make this payment to the mortgage company. And I had a court date on February the 24th or something, somewhere around there. So I called the mortgage company. I was like, well, I'm waiting on the money. As soon as it comes, I can go ahead and make this payment. And it never came. So I said, well, what do you suggest I do? So I called their attorneys and they said, well, you need to go to court because if you don't show up to court, you mess around and try to go home, they're going to have your house padlocked. So of course they put the fear of God in you. So I went to court. When I got to court, let me tell you how God worked. When I went into court, the minute I walked through the doors, they were calling my name. And I was like, I'm here. And the clerk of court was like, oh, the attorneys don't have all their paperwork together and we're giving you a 30-day extension. So I was like, okay. They said, so now you have some time to work with your mortgage company to get this money together. I was like, okay. And I left the door and I did the hallelujah dance because I was like, wow, they gave me a 30-day extension. So I immediately called my mortgage company. I was like, look, I'm going to make this payment. But they was like, well, Miss Hope, if we go ahead, because it's after the deadline that you were supposed to pay the $8,300, because it's going to be going into March, was it March? Yeah, March. They said you're going to have to pay $9,500 because they added another mortgage payment to this. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So it went from 72 to 83 to 95. Well, in between that time, I got involved in this business called My Econ. I know y'all following me because y'all see my posts, and I got involved with this thing called My Econ. So I joined My Econ, and I went to work. I just started calling people because we're all in the same boat. We're struggling. We're robbing from Peter to pay Paul. We're trying to pay these bills. We're trying to stay afloat. So I got involved in this business. I put my head down and went to work. Started making phone calls, Facebook, inboxes. Look, take a look at this thing. And at the end of the day, from joining this business in less than maybe 6 or 7 weeks, I had made a little over $4,500 with My Econ. And I saved every single penny of it. I didn't touch it. I just let it sit there because I knew I needed to add it to what I had. And I added it to one more paycheck. And lo and behold, I was able to make that payment. I don't know if y'all can see that, but that thing says $9,500 that I had to make payable to my mortgage company. So I'm here to tell you that when there's a will, there's a way. And I didn't know that there was going to be a way for me because I'm telling you, I was sweating bullets. I was like, Lord, if I lose this house, I was wrestling with filing bankruptcy again. And I was like, I don't want to go through that. I'm going to, and I'll let the cat out the bag for you don't know, I'm going to be 49 in August. And for me to be almost 50 years old and to have almost lost my house again, I said, I swear to God in heaven, I will never let that happen to me again. So I'm just here to tell you, whatever your situation is, wherever your situation is, there's hope. And I'm not just saying it because it's my last name. there's hope. There's really hope. You know, when I tell you that I was literally on the phone with my mortgage company, it's like, well, how are you? You know, you sure you're going to be able to pay this? Because every month if you don't pay, and then I have to worry about whether or not they're going to even accept my payment. So not only did I pay, you know, $9,500 to my mortgage company, but the money that I'm making from this business is helping me to continue to make those mortgage payments. So I don't know what your situation is. All I can tell you is this. You know, having gone through an extreme hardship, and at the end of the day, everything is peachy because my kids, I tell them stuff, but they don't know that every night I go home, I go up in my room and I cry. They don't know that on my way to work, I'm like, wow, I got to drive all the way to work and I feel like I'm just working to pay my mortgage. They don't know that, you know, I get 1,000 people tell me, nah, Ray, I'm not interested in what you do. I don't do that type of stuff. They don't know that through all of that, I have to hold my head up high because I'm tired of crying. I'm tired of stressing. I'm just tired. And, you know, I know a lot of people, shout out to all the moms out there, all the dads, all the parents, all of everybody who's just on their grind and trying to make things happen. But it is the scariest place to be. It is the scariest place to be, to almost lose your house repeatedly. And I'm just trying to be transparent. I'm just trying to be transparent with y'all because it's really scary, and people don't understand that, you know, when you out there and you see people struggling and you want to help people, but you yourself need help, but you too damn prideful to ask for help. That's me. So it's like, okay, instead of me asking, because I was telling my brother what I had to do, and he was like, I don't know how you do it. How do you do it? And I was like, honey, I don't know how I do it either, but I'm gonna just keep doing what I do, because at the end of the day, I just work too hard, you know. So I'm sitting in my home, wow, 13 years to the day of being in this house, and I managed to rescue it again, and I rescued myself. So what I'm telling you guys is that, yeah, you see me doing a business, but I can promise you with this particular business, my Econ and GMT, and shout out to Cedric, and shout out to Lisa, and shout out to my team, you know, I'm telling you that for, you know, what I put into just to join this business, and the education and the testimonies and just real people showing you a practical way to get your finances in order. It ain't about the hype. It certainly ain't about all the products and the fluff and the conferences and all that. It's not even about that. It's just simple and plain. We're showing people how to shift their income, how to really change things for themselves and their families. And I'm just telling you that, you know, without me having to ask any of my family members, and y'all know who y'all are, because sometimes I get on the phone and you take a deep breath, because it's like, which brother am I going to call to bail me out this time? And I just promised myself, I'm not picking up that phone. I'm not calling I'm not calling nobody, no brother, no sister, not my mom. I'm not calling nobody. Rachel got to do this. Not Ray Hope, because see, the check is in Rachel Hope name. You know, Rachel got to do it. And so at the end of the day, I was like, you know, I got to do this. So, you know, if you haven't taking a look at what this whole income shifting is, I mean, guys, I made over close to $4,600 in 6 weeks. You know, so at the end of the day, it's doing what it had to do. It saved my house. I can promise you that this whole Econ, you know, income shifting movement saved my house. You know, it helped me to maintain my dignity. It helped me to, you know, not have to ask for help. It just did it. It did it for me. And, you know, surprisingly, you know, it's helping a whole lot of other people out there. I know a lot of people, you know, who are doing really, really well with this company. And so, All I can say is, look, it saved my house. If you interested in learning what we doing, you can feel free to reach out to me. This is my first video, so I hope it look right. Look, is my hair right, y'all? Because if it's not, I'm gonna kill y'all for not telling me my hair's jacked. But I love each and every one of you. Thank you for listening to my testimony, and stay tuned because we have many more lives to change. Anyway, y'all, bye. See y'all on the next video. Ciao, bells.